So, the April 15th individual tax deadline is today. And if you're wondering what that ultimately means, you're probably going to jail. I'm totally joking. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what the April 15th individual tax deadline means to you, the possible penalties and interests that you might be incurring if you miss this deadline, and actionable steps that you can take today to make sure that you can have an extension, additional time to go ahead and file your tax return. My name is Carrington Dennis. I am a certified enroll agent. Welcome back to my channel. So, April 15th, what exactly does that mean to you? Does that mean if I don't file my tax return today by the end of the day that the IRS is going to be knocking on my door come tomorrow? That is not what that means whatsoever. I'm here to provide you guys with a little bit of security in knowing that you guys are going to be okay once we get past this deadline. But there are actionable steps that you need to take. The first thing I want you to ask yourself is, number one, in 2025, did you make taxable income? Do you have a filing requirement? Now, there's going to be a very easy way of you deciding this. Number one, did you have any type of W-2 job? Right? If you had a W-2 job, was the income that you were making over the standard deduction for 2025? Now, if you were a single filer, the standard deduction was $15,750. On your W-2, that box one line item, if it's over $15,750, you now have a filing requirement for the tax year 2025. What you're going to need to do is get in contact with maybe a tax professional, or I would recommend filing an extension, and I'll get to that point. Secondly, if you had any self-employment income, and what exactly is self-employment income? If you were making any money on the side, potential barbers, for example, maybe a hair braider, anything and everything where you can be making a little bit of money on the side. If you had that's what's referred to as self-employment income. If you had self-employment income and it was over the threshold for 2025, which is $400, if it was over $400, you now have a filing requirement for 2025. So now that should make it abundantly clear if you had a filing requirement or if you did not. Now, if you don't have to worry about filing a tax return for 2025. Maybe you will have a filing requirement for 2026, but for this year, you are A-okay. If you were over that $15,750 or over that $400 on the self-employment income side, now you have a filing requirement. What is the number one thing that you can do once you have noticed that you have a filing requirement? More than likely, you're probably not going to be able to get your tax return done same day or anything like that unless you kind of know what you're doing. But if you're fairly new, I would 100% recommend filing an extension. An extension is something very easy that can be filed today. I will give you guys a couple of websites that I would recommend you guys file a very quick and easy tax return extension. Now, I want to be abundantly clear. This extension is going to grant you an additional 6 months to file your tax return. So your tax deadline is no longer April 15th. It will be October 15th of this same year, 2026. It will be October 15th, an additional 6 months. Now, that's 6 months worth of extra time to file your tax returns. What is it not? It is not an additional 6 months to pay any tax that you ultimately owe the IRS. The deadline to pay any tax that you may owe the IRS is today, April 15th. Now, I want to inform you guys of any penalties that you might incur if you forget to file, you don't get a filing, or you don't file an extension on time, right? Or you don't pay on time as well. Like I said, the payment is due today. Regardless of if you file an extension, a payment is due today. So if you decide not to make a payment, or if you completely forget to file an extension, don't file your tax return, what is going to be the potential penalties and interest that are associated with that? So starting with the failure to file penalty. Now, this one's going to be the most grueling one. So I really encourage you guys to get these extensions filed. Like I said, I will give you guys the websites here later in the video, and I'll drop it in the description of this video as well. But the failure to file penalty is 5% of your unpaid tax per month. 5% of your unpaid tax per month, all the way up to 25%. What that means is you could potentially be paying an extra 25% on your taxes if you forget to file your tax return. So this is extremely, extremely important. You need to file your extension by April 15th, by today. That is going to be number one. Number two is going to be the failure to pay penalty, right? So maybe we filed our extension, but we didn't necessarily submit a payment on April 15th. And that's still okay. You know, most people actually don't necessarily submit a huge payment on April 15th if they know they're not owing a huge amount of tax. If you're unsure, if you had W-2 income, more than likely, you're probably going to be okay. But the failure to pay penalty is 0.5% per month, all the way up to 25%. So it is way less hurtful than the failure to file penalty, right? So the failure to pay penalty, once again, is 0.5% per month, all the way up to 25%. Now, if by some stretch of the imagination you decide to put the tax that you ultimately owe on a payment plan, we can actually get that penalty down to 0.25%. So not even 0.5%, 1/4%. So those are going to be the two main penalties. I haven't even necessarily gotten to the interest that compounds daily. There's interest that's also going to be involved. So on top of the penalties that the IRS is going to assess against you, they're also going to assess additional interest on the money. You owe them money, you're going to have to pay interest on it as well. So you're going to pay those penalties. And now, what is the interest? The interest is something that compounds daily, and the interest rate is based on the federal rates that are sometimes mostly changing, but it's based on the federal rates plus an additional 3%. And like I said, this compounds daily. So you see what I'm saying? This has the ability to start adding up and adding up quick. Now, the reason why I'm explaining all this to you, it is absolutely not to scare you again, and it's not my intention to scare you. It is my intention to educate you and let you know that there are certain things that you need to do today to make sure that you don't incur these penalties. The first thing that you can do to make sure that you do not incur that 5% failure to file penalty is to get yourself on an extension. Now, there are 3 websites that I will go ahead and recommend that you utilize to get yourself a quick and easy extension. The first one is going to be an IRS certified website, which is called 1040.com. 1040.com. That's going to be website number 1. They make it very quick and easy to go ahead and file an extension. The next one I would recommend is going to be TaxAct. TaxAct. TaxAct.com. That is going to be another easy site where you can file an extension. And guess what? Both of those sites are completely free to you. You don't have to come out of pocket at all whatsoever to get an extension filed on those 2 sites. The third site I would recommend, and this is if you have a little bit more of a complex return, right? So this might be for the people who have self-employment income, maybe need a little bit of understanding of what additional write-offs that they can take, credits that apply to them. I would recommend utilizing TurboTax. TurboTax has the ability to give you even a trusted advisor that you can ask questions to. They will make sure that you have all the deductions on your tax return that you can legally take to minimize your overall tax bill. If I can leave you with one shred of advice, if you don't take anything else from this video, just listen to this. If you can file, that is going to be the biggest thing for you. If you can file an extension, that is going to stop the biggest penalty that is going to hurt you. That failure to file penalty, again, is 5% per month, all the way up to 25%. So that is going to get on you quick. That is 5 months. That's all it is, right? So if you forget to file and you don't file your tax return for a whole 5 months, that is an additional 25% of taxes that you're ultimately paying. And that one hurts bad. So make sure we get these extensions filed. Again, those 3 sites are 1040.com, TaxAct, and TurboTax. If you got remotely any value out of this video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe, and definitely check out my previous video that I posted on Monday that explains what happens if you don't file a tax return whatsoever. I'm talking not filing an extension, not making a payment on April 15th. Just what happens if you don't remotely ever file a tax return. I think you guys would really like that video. Again, my name is Carrington Dennis. I am a certified enroll agent. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.